Hey guys, thanks for clicking in. We're out kayak crabbing again here at Bodega Bay. This is Crabfest 2019, a great event put on by the NCKA, and this is my second year doing this competition. It's a fun competition, and you know, the first year I did this, I did pretty well. I got third place, I think it was, and it was just luck. I like to see what the other guys are doing and how they're fishing and their setup, because just I like picking up new things. I'm always learning. I'm always changing things up a little bit. It's always good to get better. So if you have any comments and things that I should be doing, please leave a comment below. So these kayaks are coming up right there. Those are Hobies, and I'm very envious of those Hobies. I really would like one, but they're just a tad bit too expensive. I can't really justify picking one up. I love my kayak, Trident 13 by Ocean Kayak. I love the center console, the center hatch for my dive gear when I go spearfishing. And this is my first pot I'm pulling up. It's the conical, and I'm fishing, with what's my bait? I'm using chicken. I think I have fish carcass. Maybe not. I have herring that I caught from the herring spawn, and some anchovies that I also caught, and I think some squid as well. And I like to mix my bait because I'm not sure which one works well and what draws them in, what they eat. And this is what the day was like. It was a whole bunch of females and undersized. I did catch these two nice sized rock crab. There's also largest rock crab division, I guess what they call it. So I thought, what the heck, I'll keep them. Might get lucky again, and just dump the rest. These two guys came up to me and started asking me about how I dispatch the crab. Is they were pretty new to crabbing, and I told them how I dispatch them. But I guess they were ready to do it right there on the boat. But I told them they should wait until they get on land before they cook them up. Now feel free to ask. If you see me on the water, feel free to ask me any questions, what I'm using, how it's going. I won't steer you wrong. I don't hide anything. Oh, this what do you call it? Cord keeper I got from Home Depot. It's been really good with this setup here. With the floating line, just kind of keep it from unspooling, and for another thing to worry about when with boats, chopping my line, getting caught in their prop. And so I just put out the scope that I need, and here's my first keeper crab for the day. 1 out of 2 pots. Something else I wanted to change up is the jugs I've been using for many years right there. I think I will fill them up with packing peanuts, styrofoam packing peanuts, so if it punctures, if it fills with water, it would probably sink and I would lose my rig if I can't find the line. So that's something I plan on doing in the future, as well as I'm also adding a weight to the line just below the cord keeper. And this is my first square pot. So in this competition you're allowed to have 4 pots only, and I fish with I guess crab with 2 of these square pots and 2 of the conical ones. It seems to it's easiest to manage. On this day I checked it every half an hour and kept moving it to try to find where the crabs were. Normally I'll let them sit for an hour where I have more time. And these pots, again, I have them weighted so they always feel heavy. So sometimes I think, oh, there's crab in there, but I pull it up and there's nothing in there or small. But you can see here there's some color and we have some crab. And so I was pulling up pots like this a lot, and they were all mix of dungies and reds, and you could tell that most of them were just too small, just undersized, and a lot of females that day. This one I thought was going to be a keeper, but it was not. And here comes Moo from Moo Moo Outdoors. I'll put a link to his channel. He's a really nice guy. I like him a lot. There's no keepers in this pot, so I ended up dumping the entire pot, which was like most of the pots that day. And Moo started interviewing me for his channel, which is cool. Big fan of his channel. So here it is. I'm not sure how well you could hear it though. He was asking me about some of my method, and one thing that we ended up talking about was my feelings about keeping females, because here in California it is legal to keep female Dungeness crab for sports fishing, and a lot of guys don't. Most guys don't that I know. Some do, and they're within their rights, but I generally don't. I heard that, and I'm not sure if this is true or not, but I've heard that females don't have as much meat as the males. Again, I'm not sure if that's true or not, but something that I've heard along the way. But as far as from a conservation standpoint, keeping females, especially egg-laden females, I just want to make sure that we have plenty of crabs, so for our future generations. And I'm all for conservation, conserving our resources. Even that calls for a reduction in bag limits, and maybe an increased size limit. So it's all good. Fishing's just fun. So I'm coming up to my third pull of the day, and this is actually pretty funny. So again, this is the square pots, the Danielson, and as I'm pulling the line up, you can see how much of a tidal currents there are, because as I'm pulling up my pot, I'm being pulled backwards. I think it's a good indicator of how much what the currents are like down there, and it feels like a pretty good pot, and I'm pulling it up, and I can kind of see it down there, I think, and yeah, there it is. And as I'm pulling it up, I flip it over to get on the boat, and there's something else in the pot, this fish that falls out into my boat. It's this sculpin. I think it's called staghorn sculpin or something, and has these gnarly spines on them. I don't know too much about them, and it started wiggling. I started freaking out because I'm not sure, if the bait getting poked, if they have any toxins or anything. Almost dropped my crab pot there, trying to avoid the sculpin. And I actually caught like 3 of these this day. In this pot and some of my other my conical ones especially, and I've caught them in the past, but this is the first time it fell out of the pot and into my boat on my leg. Yeah, so if you have any information about that fish, it'd be great to learn a little bit more about them. Yeah, some good sized rock crab. The Dungeness weren't that great, although this one looks good. This one looks like a keeper. Good male. Yep. And that's a nice size one. to the bay. It's crab number 2, 2 Dungeness and 2 rock. And that looked like that was about it for this pot. Again, that day there was just a lot of rock crab, a lot of decent sized rock crabs. That one probably would have kept, most people would have kept. And this is another Dungeness, legal size, measuring it just to be sure, and just legal. But it is a female, and again, I don't like keeping these females. And it's just, I've got this last trip I went on, got 2, I threw back 2 really big females. So, that's just, again, that's just me. If you're the type that keeps the female, again, you're well within your rights. So this is actually, I think my 6th pull, 7th pull. I didn't record every pull because it would just get too boring, too long. Who wants to watch a 3-hour crab video? Kind of watching the same stuff over and over again. So this pull here was actually a pretty good one. Felt heavy, love the heavy feeling. And the way I get it on board is I kind of flip it so I don't flip my kayak. This one had a mix of everything. It had a nice rock crab. And I put the rock crabs, I keep them actually separate from the Dungeness. Like this, here's a good sized Dungeness. Some people will put them in the same containers, whether it's a bucket or a bag like this. And I found that the Dungeness with themselves kind of chew each other up, kind of tear each other apart. The rock crab are just vicious, and they got their claws are so much stronger, and they'll just rip up the Dungeness. So I try to keep them separate as much as possible. Even when I transport them home, the Dungeness will go into the cooler, and the rock crabs will stay in the bucket. And I don't live too far from here, so they do fine. So if you mix the two, now be aware that happens. Again, pretty good sized females. Goodbye. And this heavy pot, I think, this looks like another keeper. This pot pulled 2 keepers and a good sized rock crab. So this is a good pull. If I can get 2 crabs in a pot for a half an hour soak, that's actually really good. Still waiting for that 1 pot limit. It's never ever had. I've had 2 pot limits, 2 or 3 pot limits, but that's about it. And those are just amazing. I keep this kind of peanut butter container with extra bait, some chicken and maybe some fish to rebait the pots. And because this one did well, I'll rebait it, and I'm gonna rebait it and drop it back in the same location. Something about crabbing that I learned is that the first set is just all luck, and after that is when your skills kick in, whether to set back or move the pot or which direction to move. The reason I fish with a lot of pots is that I just want to find the crab first, and then kind of start zeroing in on their location. So people would leave their pots in the water for hours, like 2 or 3 hours, and then come back and pull. It's great if you're on them, but if you're not on them, again, you're just wasting time. So again, I like to move my pots to find them, and I've found success in that. I'm not fishing that other pot right now because it didn't do all that well where it was, and so it's on the boat. It's not fishing right now. Gotta find a place to put it. And I can either drop it where I know they're hitting, like right near this one, but then if I do that, it'll be, I'm competing against myself for the crab. So I'll just move it and test the waters someplace else. That's what those conical ones are great for, just testing the waters. If you're new to kayak crabbing, those conical ones are the ones I would recommend because they're a lot lighter, they pack much easier, you can fish them faster. I do like these square pots for the longer soaks, hour, sometimes 2 hours if I'm feeling good or if I'm spending a day with my family. These square ones just are heavier, and so I got these new Danielson with the bigger doors and the hatch and the door on top. But I'm finding issues with particularly the door on top, where just something else to get tangled up with, and the lines holding the pot to the main line down gets tangled up in the door. So I'm actually liking the old pots, even with the smaller doors, for the crab to walk in. There's just less issues with them, and I'm finding a lot of other crabbers feel the same. I've seen people wanting to trade these newer pots for the older ones. So they're still good, but it just one more thing to be worried about. So this pot, that was a legal female, and I've been catching a lot of those lately, and tossing them back in. So, and here's I think another. No, it's a male. So I've been catching a lot of these legal female, and I'll measure them just to see. I was put in a predicament where I kept counting the legal ones, or the females and males, and lost count one time, and accidentally came back with too many crabs on shore, and I had to get rid of some. I was raked over the coals by other NCK members that I actually don't know personally, but kind of read my post. But anyhow, that's their own thing. I know I did make that mistake, and that shouldn't have been made, but so I'll be nice, you guys. So we're sending this pot back, I believe. Oh, and what I'm doing right here is sometimes the rock crab don't want to let go, and I found if you just put them in the water, they'll release, they'll let go of whatever they're holding on to. If you try to pull them off, you'll most likely rip off their claws, and I don't want to do that to them. They still gotta defend themselves and eat and such. I mean, they will grow back, but it just seems cruel. So again, I'm gonna rebait this trap and drop it back into because the spot hit. Again, testing in the waters and moving the pot to where they are is kind of, I think, one of the key factors in successful crabbing, at least for me. And again, just whatever I had in my bait jar that I take to refill the bait jars. Again, I like to take any of the fish, like the sardine, I'm just squishing up to get more of a scent in the water. Got to attract them crabs. Yeah, so the day itself, the weather turned out really great. It's been raining and kind of a wet season, and missed a lot of days crabbing because of the weather, mainly because of the wind. Again, the wind's more of a factor than the rain. but they generally don't like to spend the day out in the pouring rain. So it was nice to have a nice day like that today. No, almost no wind, really calm seas, and sun kind of broke through now and then. Then again, I use this old peanut butter container to hold bait, to refill bait bucket and bait jars. And again, you should always have a watch. So here's that conical pot again. And it's one that I would highly recommend. Still need to make some changes in how my setup here. Always change for the better. And again, you want to really manage the line. Make sure it's not sprawled out on the surface of the water where boaters can run over it. Because I see a lot of lines like that. And in this pot, we have this nice sized dungy. Again, the soak time was probably like half an hour, and I just dumped it back in because they were there. I didn't even bother taking those other ones out because they'll probably fall out on the way down, and if not, they'll continue to eat, and I think they'll feeding crab will attract other crab. So goes in the bag, and at this point again I've lost count. I'm not sure if all the crab that I caught were caught on film. Again, the cord keeper is a really great idea that I've seen other people use and picked it up myself. And again, this is the same pot, but again, a half an hour later. It's probably because I didn't have my GoPro with me for every pull, or just got nothing in the pot. Nothing really interesting happening, so didn't include those segments in this video. If this was just the entire day of just filming, there'd be a lot of boring parts. Again, a lot of it is just luck. But I tend to drop my pots in the same place, and come up with generally the same type of results, which is good. But there's been a lot of people dropping their pots where I'd like to drop mine, so I'll be respectful and kind of give them a good distance. But I think it's a good distance. Other people drop theirs pretty much right on top of mine. Sometimes my friends would do that because they know I do well, but now what are you gonna do? Again, this was a good pot, so I'm gonna rebait because I think we're getting close to the end of the competition, because you're only allowed to fish from, I think it was like 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock till noon. So 3 or 4 hours of crabbing. I did limit out, which is good. But nothing spectacular, no large ones. So it's kind of a toss-up where it'd be nice to have a big one, but it's always good to limit out. It always feels good to limit out, but it also feels good to get big ones, jumbos. I think there's a couple definitely keeper females here. Going back into the water, and this again, I've filled my big jar here with the herring. This herring that I got earlier this year is like crack for the crab. I swear, they've been doing really good. And again, if you have an opportunity to get herring when the herring run comes in, now do so. Make great bait. They taste really good too. So again, I'm putting holes into this fish to have more of a scent, so it'll put more of a scent in the water. I guess Moo really sliced up his fingers when he was doing this. So again, be careful. careful out there. The homemade bait jar going back on and dropping it back where I know the crab are, which doesn't mean that there's going to be more crab there, because they might have crawled over there. It might have, the time might have been over. So it's it's luck. In the same pot, coming back to half an hour later or so. I did pull up those other pots, but there was probably nothing interesting to see, or I just wasn't filming. And this hole here was a good one, not because it had a lot of crabs in it, but because it had, I think, what could have been my largest dungey for that day, and which was a decent size. I caught several decent sized dungey, but nothing huge. And I wasn't, I was hoping to make the top 3, but didn't quite make the cut. So thank you, give a little kiss, and into the bag you go. And yeah, it was a good day. Again, I limited. Got some couple nice sized ones. Really big rock crab. It was a fun day. A lot of good people out there. Met a lot of new people. Yeah, it's a really fun, non-threatening competition. It was definitely more fun than anything. And again, you got to manage that floating line, cord keeper, and again, I now have incorporated a weight just in case the tide goes out and then there's too much scope in the extra line, because boats like that will run them over, not always intentionally, but they will, and you could lose your gear that way. So that's about it for this crabbing video, and I want to thank you guys for watching and listening, and good luck out there. And if you have any tips for me, please leave them in the comment below, and any other suggestions would be very, very, I'll be thankful for, because I always want to get better at what I'm doing. And hope to see you guys out there. Hope you get them. Leave some for me. And have a good day, and get wet. Have fun.